spot, but he doesn't like public speaking. But we have convinced him, or at least the next 40 minutes, to have a little Q&A session, and maybe if it goes well, we can take some questions from the audience. But without further ado, and I think you're a good icebreaker. Here's our friend Salehe.
Let's get this going.
When I say poo, you say ma, poo, poo. That's my icebreaker.
So, welcome, Salehe. So, one question to get to warm this all up. How do you pronounce your name?
Salehe Bembury.
Salehe.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Because I have a lot of people asking me, like, how do we pronounce his name? Is it Salehe? Is it Salehe? I think it's good if they want to address you religion. They know how it is. Also to warm up a little bit the conversation. Where are you based? Where's your creative hub?
I'm based in Los Angeles, and I'm from New York City.
So what's New York or LA?
I think New York was really necessary to make me who I am in regards to personality or colorfulness or perspective, but I don't think you can live in any one place too long or you reach a ceiling. And so I was provoked by a job with Yeezy about Kanye, and that's what brought me to Los Angeles.
So do you go back and forth a lot, or how is your global travel agenda like?
I travel all the time. New York is sometimes on the list, but this is just a job and more specifically a career. Like I should acknowledge you guys. More specifically, a career that just brings you all around the world, and we're those of us that get to travel through it are extremely blessed, because of that.
And now Herzegovina. So you arrived yesterday. Is it your first time in Germany, or?
This is my first time in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're very proud to have you here. Very honored. Yes. So I think we should get started with the protocol a little bit. So, tell us how was yesterday? How is you? How are we welcoming you here? What's your first impression?
I think the most important thing when any two brands come together is authenticity. So getting to come here and getting to learn the history and the ethos and all of the accomplishments that have happened before me, I think are all necessary for me to learn before putting any pen to paper. So yesterday was a combination of history, product, innovation, stand up, just joking, just really, doing all the research necessary through meeting, people internally and visiting the archive, and I guess that's like the foundation. And I believe that a lot of those things need to be honored. We were speaking with Jeremy about like signature details and if they're necessary or if they're not necessary. And so, I think, yesterday was really about, forming a foundation and meeting the people I need to meet.
Sweet. And Carly is also a great public speaker. He loves it as much as you do.
Mm-hmm.
She enjoys the moments in the spotlight. So if you go back in time to the start, when you started realizing, okay, there's a creative energy within. So when did it start, and when did you notice, oh, this is something I love, this is going to become a passion? How much do we travel back in time here?
Oh, to childhood. I remember when I first told some of my family friends that I was a footwear designer professionally, they cried because they remembered me like stomach down, feet up, like tongue out, like, trying to draw a Jordan with a crayon. So it's absolutely like a passion realized. And I definitely think that passion is like one of the best fuels you can have. So it's been a lifelong journey, and industrial design was kind of my path into the profession, and it's been lifelong.
Did you grow up in a creative environment, or was this something strange to you, just new to explore and need to understand what it is?
I grew up in Tribeca, New York, which is downtown Manhattan, and at the time it was an artist community. My dad's a photographer, so thank God that I had parents that influenced me to pursue passion, potentially pursue the arts, I definitely have friends that their parents made them become doctors and lawyers, and they make a good salary, but they're miserable. So, I would provoke anyone to, or motivate anyone to, pursue passion. And that's what I've done. And then, yeah, as I said, industrial design was the thing that gave me the tools.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm asking this question because when I just went through the protocol, and I stopped at this question because when we with creatives always go back to the time when it all started, there's so many interesting starting points, and they're so diverse. It's like people growing up in a creative environment, and some are just like exploring it or discovering it by accident. I think those are beautiful stories, and I feel like it always unites us in a sense. So because it's like there's not a pattern. It's just people stumble over it at one point.
Yeah.
Hardly ever it's a strategy to start with. So that's why I was very curious how you started with that.
Well, I think representation matters and examples matter, and so just seeing my dad's photographer in that space and all of the painters and artists that were in the neighborhood, it kind of showed me that you can be a professional and still like have paint on your shirt, and that doesn't necessarily not make you an adult or successful. So there was a lot of good examples around me as a young kid.
Talking about that, I mean, I'm kind of skipping the next question. So because I'm just interested. Was there a point then when you said, okay, I'm going to go this, where you said, oh fuck, I'm not going to succeed in this is difficult, and I might not have chosen the right path?
I would say with my career path thus far, more recently it's been pretty good, but in the earlier years there were definitely peaks and valleys, and when you see your bank account go low or you're not employed, those are things that make you reconsider everything, and then you have like self-worth thoughts in your head. And strangely, I feel like those obstacles and those experiences are almost necessary, that when you get to that zenith, if you will, that you have all of the tools, and it's almost like teaching a child how to deal with like their emotions. You almost have to deal with that like pain. Those are cool. You have to deal with that pain to like know how to enjoy the accomplishments.
When was the point when you said, oh wow, this is going to be solid, this is going to just like skyrocket, right? Was that, did you have the point when you said, oh fuck, this is serious now?
I think for me, or maybe for most of us, it's just been like different goals at different points in my life or career. So there was a time that seeing someone on the street wearing my shoe was a huge deal. And then maybe even flying to a factory that also made other shoes that I was a fan of was a huge deal. Making all the things. So I don't know if there's anything in particular. I remember working for Kanye in those years was pretty surreal because I was a massive fan of him, and Yeezy was at the top of the game, and it just seemed like kind of the perfect job for me. So at that time, that was a big deal. No longer, but I think I kind of like hit my goals and then keep pushing.
You just said something very interesting. I want to kind of drill in here. You said when you saw someone wearing your shoes on the street, because I noticed that there's kind of different creatives, like the creatives who just want to be an artist, and it's very within themselves, and but then there's also creative which really appreciate the external validation, as you just have mentioned. How important is it for you that this external validation of your creativity?
I think it almost lives within like human nature, and in the earlier parts of our career, we probably needed more. I remember I would show like a boss a design at a job like 10 years ago, and I wouldn't know what I had on paper until he either approved it or denied it. And then once he approved it, I'd go, yeah, that is good. But now, just from I guess previous success and portfolio, now I have a little bit more of that confidence. I often talk of like how there are like stages of grief. I think there are stages of creative opportunity. So whenever I get like even this project, I was like, yes, new project, I can't wait. And then that next emotion is like, oh shit, what am I gonna do, right? And then you're met with like motivation. You're like, wait, I can figure this out. Let me start researching. So it's kind of like this, again, peaks and valleys of emotion before I feel confident in it. But strangely now, because I've been through that spectrum of emotion, now when I'm experiencing the fear or the imposter syndrome, I almost know, like, okay, I'm on, like, I should be doing this, so. Yeah.
You've done many things in your creative career. Is there something you always dreamt of? Maybe it's like this sort of very kind of crazy idea, things you want to design. Do you have that?
No, I kind of just put my brain energy to a project once it comes to my doorstep. I've always wanted to be that designer that just has like ill sketches in my sketchbook, and then when I get a project, I can be like, ooh, I should give them page 47. But that is not who I am, so I more so, do the thinking when it comes to my doorstep. What did I have to say though? I lost. Can you bring me back with the question? I have more things to say. Can you ask the question again?
What do you like to design what you haven't designed yet? Just to keep it.
Oh, okay. I want to design a toothbrush. It's extremely ergonomic. There's amazing molding processes with toothbrushes. I know it's random, but
Did you just make this up?
no, I swear to God, I've said it in many interviews actually. Yeah.
Some people are interested, I don't want this to sound strange. Creative process. It is so different to the individual creative. First of all, do you have a creative process, or like the second part of the question, what does it look like when you start a creative process?
Sometimes when I work with brands, I talk about like creative theater, because I remember being a consumer and in the audience and looking at design magazines and seeing all these beautiful sketches and seeing all the Prismacolor drawings on the wall, and it's kind of like this in many cases fabricated process visual, and I often design from the gut. I guess one of the reputations of my brand is color. And you would think that someone who is known for color is like Pantone books and really comparing and juxtaposing, but I kind of just click around and do that and choose. So it's really from the gut. That's probably my short answer. It's from the gut. Yeah.
Going back to, sort of connecting to a question I've asked you just a couple of minutes ago, when you react to your gut feeling on an idea you have, do you naturally match it to a consumer reality, or is that something you intuitively build in there? How does your brain work?
I was probably thinking more about the consumer when I work for brands, because as you know, when you work for a specific brand, there's a specific consumer, and in some instances, that consumer has a name, a gender, a salary, music they listen to, and the brand will actually identify those things. But now I guess I've been lucky enough to be a brand myself, and I, for the most part, design for myself. So often I'm like, this will look cool, which is not how design has been taught to me at all. You're supposed to not be biased and all those kinds of things. But in the last 6 or 7 years, I've been pretty lucky to just make things for me. I think and that was my answer from the last question. I just remembered. You said if I wanted to, I guess work on something that I haven't before, a basketball shoe. I grew up playing basketball. It's a large part of my childhood, playing it, watching it. And you said something that you've never seen your shoe do. I need to see someone dunk in, which sounds like Jeremy's seen that. I don't know how many times, but just someone simply dunking in my shoe might make me cry, because that's full circle. Because I grew up, so. Yeah.
Talking a little bit more about creative process and the sort of reality of a corporation. How do you deal with feedback? But I don't want to just link this to a corporation. Also direct consumer feedback. I mean, we live at times where feedback is very transparent and comes from all ways. Feedback to what you post, what you talk about. How do you deal with that?
I think critiques are extremely important, but we now live in a time where everyone feels like they are the opinion or the critiquer, speaking about the comments, and there's nothing more frustrating as a creative to spend hours, days, months working on something, and you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it, and then someone just goes like, ah man, that's just an Air Max 95. And it's like, we'll find you, you know? And so there's something to be said for like who the audience is and who's saying it, right? Strangely, I found, there's nothing wrong with this, but I found that like, usually the people that say the nastiest things on social media have below 200 followers. Why that is, I don't know. I mean, when this room has, it doesn't matter, just to be clear, but I've just noticed a pattern, right? Just sharing. Yeah, I think I respect the opinion of my peers more. Like after this meeting, we're going to show a shoe, and I think the response that I'm given will kind of help empower me to give me that like second chapter of fuel needed to develop it and do all those other things. So yeah, feedback from peers is valuable.
Do you differentiate, do you bucket feedback in regards to where it comes from or what person comes from, or?
Yeah, no, exactly that. Yeah, I think it's all about the audience. And sometimes, I mean, they always say that you could get like 100 positive comments and that one negative one is the one you remember. But often I will click that profile just to be like, because I might have my feelings hurt. Like they have a large following and they're like have great style. I'm like, wow, maybe they see something I don't. But all feedback is valid, and I think even when you can access people that aren't in your industry and they can kind of like think outside of the box and give you answers that you would never come to on your own because they're not thinking like you think. Like I sometimes just show my work to people that are not even remotely in my industry, and they'll just be like, why don't you make it blue though? And I'm like, oh, I never thought of that, And so I think feedback from anywhere is valuable, but peers most valuable.
That my next question might sound a bit a cliche question for creatives, but I get asked the same question quite frequently. It's a simple one. It's like, where do you draw your inspiration from? And I know it's a cliche question, but then the way sometimes I think about it, well, it's very relevant for other people, because specifically for people who are not working or live in a creative space, they're just interested where the magic comes from. So I'm intrigued where you draw your creativity from.
This is a perfect question to go back to the creative theater I was talking about, right? So my creative theater answer would be, when I hike through the woods, like the color palette and the wood and all of those organic lines are now influencing my design. And that's like great to drop in an interview, and I've done that many times. But if I was being honest, I'd probably say the car or the shower. Because like that's when you just have like an idle mind, and you know what I mean? Like even in the shower this morning, I just like added something to the presentation like afterwards, because I thought of like our conversation at dinner, where you're talking about how sorry to everyone after she like does whatever she does on the court, and I just thought how we could like take that as a concept and then like bring it into other aspects of her life. She like helps a mechanic like fix the car, and she's like sorry, I don't know, but that was in the shower, an example of that.
I might gonna take this creative theater as a phrase I will be using next time when Maria asks me, can you give me where's the ideas coming from, what's the narrative?
Yeah.
Like, so explain where the creativity comes from. It's like, well, this is the creative theater, Maria. Like, that's the magic. I would like to know we would like to know what surprised you with, the last 2 days or yesterday, today. What really stands out? What you did not expect?
Probably that Puma was a part of so many moments. The first thing that I did was, I don't know if it's also the archive, but I guess the bridge of history, I'll call it. Yeah, the bridge of history. That was even like the Olympic moment, like this moment. I didn't realize that you guys were a part of that, and I've seen that image millions of times. So I think again, going back to the foundation and all of the tools and signature details and history that's needed, that was a great way to start the journey.
How about what colleague presented to you yesterday?
Wait, what is that?
How about what colleague presented to you yesterday?
What was the best part? Well, I think with any brand, like you kind of like signature styles, and the things that are kind of more so attached like heritage. But innovation is the best because they're working on things that they almost know may not see the light of day. And so, you know, you get to create with zero restrictions and consumer like restrictions or price points or any of those things. So she came in with a bag of tricks, and I hope going to be using one of those innovations in what I work on. And actually, I used to be on an innovation team, so I didn't tell you that, but yeah, we're innovation for the best. Yeah.
I think we are pretty good with like sticking to the questions, but I'd like to also have some time for you guys to ask some questions. So, but my last one is, what is your just advice to young creatives? What are the do's and don'ts, or what is your sort of recommendation in finding their creative path or career?
Research. I think that's like the most important thing. I'm about to work on a project, and I watch on, but beyond that, I'm not really, you know, but I'm going to dive really deep into research so that whatever I create comes from an authentic place. Research, don't let obstacles, you know, hold you down. What else? I remember coming up, people always said, you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And I thought that was the dumbest like statement ever, but it's true, surprisingly. And so if you really dedicate yourself to something and you want to accomplish it, then while all your friends are like socializing or whatever, if you like just lock in, like you will. And it's just like a fact. And I've kind of now realized that looking on the others, I don't say the other side, but I guess maybe looking back on obstacles and difficulties, and now, you know, things are going a little bit better, so I have some insight that I didn't have before.
Thank you so much. For now, you're not released yet.
Okay.
Just stick around for a little longer. So I know that the creative community are usually not the most outgoing with questions. I've seen this many times. They might have hundreds of, but they're always more on the shy side. So I think we all can relate to that. But this is your time now. Bring on some questions.
Hey, nice to have you here. I want to ask you because obviously you're most famous from your kind of like sports style fashion products, and now going into more performance approach. I just wanted to ask if you believe in your process so much that you think the same process will lead you to a great outcome in the performance product, or maybe you will adjust something in your process just because now you have to actually make something for athletes.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily have this like trademark process. I'm just like, I don't know if you're a designer, but I'm just like a designer that worked at different companies, and I have like a strong point of view and a uniform in which I dress. I have like a nice creative theater, like New York origin story and all that kind of stuff. So at the end of the day, I'm an industrial designer that feels like I have a high level of versatility, and then I'm fueled by my passion. So I don't know if it's necessarily I'm coming in and being like, where can we put the fingerprint, you know? I think it's more just like I'm an industrial designer that's been, you know, blessed enough to like, you know, realize my creative vision at another level. Yeah.
Come on, everyone.
What's your favorite Puma shoe?
Puma shoe.
Come on, guys.
I don't know the name of it. It was a runner we saw yesterday. Yeah, I don't know the name of it. That's a bad answer,
It's an
right?
awful answer.
Yeah. No, but I saw it yesterday in the archive, and I said, why aren't you guys bringing this back? And they were like, I don't know, but it was awesome. If I could show all of you my phone. Yeah.
That's your chance, everyone.
How did you find your style, or go on your say you're looking at now or looking at brand?
Mhm.
Is that like an evolution over time? How did you?
Yeah. I think, you know, when we all look back at pictures of ourselves 10 years ago, we're thinking, like, what were we thinking? And I think as humans, we just, like, get to a place in our lives where we understand our taste, our bodies, maybe even our sexuality, and then we, like, you know, fall into a pocket that hopefully makes sense. I actually think most of the time people that, like, look like they're uncomfortable are uncomfortable because they're trying to be something they're not. So I've just, like, fully leaned into being who I am and realized that the best, like, person I can be is myself. And so I just do that to the fullest. And then I also think it's really special that regardless of like the colorfulness or the unorthodox approach, whatever, the result is sound. And it's it's for real. So like I grew up in like around like artist studios where they were just like in shambles of color and just everything was like crazy and distorted, but then the product that came out of it was like pristine. And there's something beautiful about that like transition. So yeah.
I have one question. You have been in the archive yesterday. I think a lot of people have been there. My question would be, what is your first gut feeling? What makes Puma Puma?
I think you guys have, I mean, maybe short of the jokes we were making about like signature details, but you guys, I think, have kept your signature details and your honesty and identity consistent throughout the years. Like going back to the conversation about I did research and I laid out a lot of the shoes that you created, most at this point, and I saw a similar hand across decades, and I think that's really valuable to a brand. Heritage is all you have, not all you have, but any brand, the most valuable thing I think you have is heritage. So getting to see that lineage of product and footwear over decades and how design lines, branding, and all of those things have been consistent and honored over the years stood out to me and also is extremely valuable. Yes.
Hi, nice to meet you. I have a question just in general, like if you hit a creative blockage or anything, you know, you feel like you're not creative anymore, do you have like a ritual or like anything to get you back on track, or like do you have a routine or?
A friend of mine, I don't want to take this, but a friend of mine recently created made his own incense that he burns only when he works, so that it's almost like Pavlov, where it's like when he smells that smell, it now creates or motivates like a creative flow state. So it's almost like when you smell like fresh baked cookies, you're like, time to snack, you know? And so now when he burns this incense, it makes him work, and I think that's amazing. I personally, I don't think I have. I think I just have to like maybe stop thinking about it, and then those ideas kind of organically come. Yeah.
Hi. So my first introduction to your work was your Finders Keepers thing with New Balance, and I wondered first, was the whole kind of scavenger hunt thing your idea? And if the design process for that project was different than like a shoe that was actually going to be sold?
Yeah. So yeah, the scavenger hunt was my idea, but really a lot of the things I do in my career are inspired by things I experienced in childhood. I'm just kind of like rehashing the ideas and revisiting them. Nike did a project with Orchard Street in the early 2000s where they made like 24 pairs of red and yellow dunks, and they hung them up around New York City, and you saw these posters that said like, have you seen these? And it was a dunk. And this was like pre-social media, so it was more like hearsay. You might see one pair, but I just thought that was really fascinating because it was like community engagement. I'm not a DJ, right? Like, so how do I engage a community? And so, yes, the scavenger hunt was my idea, and it was also an amazing kind of community engagement initiative during COVID because we really couldn't gather. So the fact that people could like pull up, hop out of their car, grab the shoe, and then get right back in their car, it was like safety, you know, like mission back to safety, you know. And then going back to the design, like even though I do like to explore color, I do understand that this is a business, and I do understand that these things have to sell. So with my collaborations, I'm keeping that in mind. But given that this was 50 pairs being given away for free, I leaned into that, and it had 3 different leopards on it. Ridiculous, but it didn't matter, and that was kind of the beauty.
Do you have a favorite color?
No, never. I love all colors. Love all colors. Yeah.
I just have more like a personal question. Do you feel like surrounded by creative people, or something that you don't like, some people that you hang out with, you just like stay disconnected to, or yeah?
I think I'm almost like a creative snob. I think only the people around are creative. Because I want the people that I spend my time with to inspire me on some level, give me stimulus. And so I'm curious. So, and I don't think that creativity has to like live within the artist necessarily, but like, yeah, are you curious? Are you exploring whatever that means for you? And so, yeah, I think literally every person I surround myself with is a creative person on some level. Yeah.
Hi. Is there then other fields you would like to touch or to try, like, I don't know, making a movie or making different things, like different type of art than just doing products?
Yeah, I think it's cool that some like consistent footwear wins have allowed me to step into different spaces. Like in the case of Montclair Genius, I got to create like a full head to toe fashion collection and then do an installation, which neither of which I'd done before. But I think that when you display a confident perspective or design language that can now be like associated to different fields, like the sky's the limit, you know? I often get tagged in things that just have organic design lines and I didn't create, and people are like, oh, that's kind of Salehe-like, and I'm like, oh shit, like now people are actually seeing my work in other work because I've stayed consistent. And that's why I actually think it's important to, I guess maybe as an independent designer, establish, similar to an artist, establish a consistent aesthetic or visual or even color palette. So to answer, I don't know if that answered your question. Is there anything that I want to design? I'm really kind of open. I started with some furniture. Yeah, industrial design is pretty much everything except buildings.
Favorite shoe ever? Oh, sorry. Favorite shoe ever?
I don't think I have a favorite shoe ever. No, seriously. Yeah. No, I don't think I have a favorite shoe ever. There's been ones in different periods of time in my life, but I don't. Yeah, I own like 200 pairs of shoes and
High school.
High rotation. What?
High school.
High school. Yeah.
Well, if we are now doing rapid fire question, I have a few for you.
Okay.
So, any trend you see coming up?
So I remember I worked at Cole Haan, and this lady came in, and she started presenting trends. And I'd never seen anything like this before, and I remember like nudging the person next to me. I was like, wait, so she knows what's going on, and she's teaching us? And then I learned about trends, and it's interesting because like as humans, there's like a tribe mentality, right? So like even though we don't realize it, we all are kind of like moving like in unison through space and time. And I hate trends. I don't look at trends. So I don't even know how to really. But they're about like. I guess like if a fashion week happens and someone goes to the camera, they can see consistent patterns across the landscape. And so maybe like acknowledging and analyzing that is valuable, but I don't care to participate in it.
What's your favorite sport?
Basketball.
Favorite athlete?
As an adult, I feel like I couldn't have a favorite athlete after I became older than them. So I have a favorite team and I like appreciate athletes, but I don't have like a favorite.
And last one, if you could have dinner with one person, I guess it means a famous person, who would that be?
I'll give you three. Michael Jordan, David Blaine, Barack Obama.
Sweet. Unless you guys have any other questions, and I'm proud of you, that was a solid selection of questions. And thank you so much, Salehe.
Thank you.
And it's a great pleasure to have you here, and we're happy to have you today here a bit more longer for more sessions. And I really hope we could impress you a little bit, and I'm very much looking forward to our collaboration.
Yeah, you guys have been extremely hospitable, and if you guys are familiar with me, you know I do social media pretty well, so one second, I just want to do that Puma thing one more time for the social media. Let's make sure I'm recording. When I say poo, you say ma, poo, ma, poo, ma. Thank you very much.